155 passengers and 7 crew members are boarding an AirAsia flight on a routine hop to Singapore, one of the world's busiest airports. Air traffic controllers assign the flight the call sign Wagonair 8501.
We're looking at 8501. Good morning. Wagonair 8501, good morning. Join the tower. Go ahead, sir.
Although it's warm air that creates storms here, when it reaches high altitude, temperatures within the clouds drop dramatically to as low as minus 112 degrees Fahrenheit. As cold as winter in Antarctica is clear, but that could change at any moment.
Juanda aircraft ready for stop and cruising.
The plane is an Airbus A320, one of the most technologically advanced in the skies, and the world's best-selling single-aisle airliner.
Wagonair 8501, clear to Singapore, Mike 635, level 240 initial.
This plane has flown 13,500 times, covering more than 23,000 flight hours.
Wagonair 8501, clear to takeoff.
Passengers and crew settle in. 25 minutes into the flight, the plane is cruising at around 32,000 feet, now operating on full autopilot.
A lot of the time, the plane is being flown by the autopilot.
The Airbus 320's autopilot system consists of 7 computers.
Airplanes are like computer games nowadays. There's a lot of pilots that...
As the plane approaches the equator, storm clouds are brewing over the Java.
You can see a thunderstorm ahead of you or below you, and in the very few minutes you take to get there.
Air traffic controllers receive Flight 8501's final radio transmission. The plane requests permission to take a left turn and climb.
Air traffic control, there you'll be passing through aircraft flying in the same direction as you.
There's a possibility of severe turbulence ahead. The crew face a critical decision: to stay on course or change direction.
This aircraft was the only one.
Shows the flight path of the plane's final minutes, halfway into its flight to Singapore. At 6:16, radar data records that the plane is cruising at around 32,000 feet. Seconds later, still cruising. But then, the plane deviates from its course and turns left.
You would have been flying with the autopilot, and so you put changes to direction.
155 passengers on board have no clue that they are just 2 minutes from disaster.
Experience fear.
The guidance was you're going to...
A massive thunderstorm is the ultimate hazard for the crew of an airliner. In the last 50 years, bad weather has been a factor in over half of fatal commercial air accidents. At 6:16, radar data records that the plane is cruising around 32,000 feet. But then the plane turns left, and for reasons as yet unknown, it climbs steeply.
It would be.
The eyeballs literally shaking your head. Your own safety of flying the aircraft as it's supposed to be.
And it's not just the pilots that are pushed to the limit.
When a plane enters the forces all around the aircraft, and that can...
Later, an exact replica of the lost plane.
The reason why we try to understand whether we can take that information forward to stop it happening again. And all that can lead us into difficult areas.
Every reading we see, every indicator we see, will be exactly what the AirAsia pilots would have seen. For all pilots, accurate instrument displays are vital.
All aircraft are designed to identify that information and prioritize.
The instruments are everything, and you ignore them at your peril. If you follow a faulty instrument, then you've to over-control.
123, requesting climb.
This simulator has been programmed to reproduce an instrument failure while climbing from 32,000 feet.
Doesn't look right. Like unreliable airspeed to me.
Captain, standby is indicating 0.72.
0.72.
The pilots scramble to identify the fault.
Carriage
checklist, unreliable airspeed. 396
Here,
knots.
it's an unreliable speed indicator.
Autopilot off. Flight director's off. Birdie's up.
Recognizing the fault, the crew switch off part of the autopilot protection, which hands the main controls back to the crew.
Courage checklist. Seatbelt sign on. Movement to seal. Mark precaution. Overspeed.
Next, they switch off the computers related to the faulty speed indicators. Seconds later, this happens.
A stall warning.
In an attempt to recover from a possible stall, John puts the nose down to gather speed and drops 5,000 feet, then levels out.
Maintain wings level. Speed 370.
In this case, John recovers the plane successfully.
Maintaining 30,000 feet.
In the case of the AirAsia flight, we know that the Airbus 320 climbed rapidly and that it probably
The computer literally... They pulled the power back because they thought they were going
to the Air France passengers, the plane had dropped 10,000 feet.
The most plausible theory is potential problems with the aircraft, and
The plane fell out of the sky is not in doubt. But what happened during its fall could shed light on the flight's final moments. In the weeks after the crash, there were reports that the plane had exploded before it hit the sea. Down to 24,000 feet before all communications cut out. One thing most experts agree on is that severe weather was a factor in both the Air France and AirAsia crashes. In the last 50 years, weather has contributed to over half of all fatal commercial airliner accidents. But there's one type of trip.
Why did they do